Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And before I really get into anything about cross stitch and what I've been doing for the last week, I just want to apologize if the microphone and your earphones, if you're wearing any, are picking up any traffic noise. I have some windows open at the moment to cool our unit down because it was a bit of a warm night. It was definitely a warm day yesterday. So fingers crossed all goes well. It's fairly early still here in Wollongong on Saturday, the 27th of September. And gosh, we're getting to the end of September, which is scary within itself because it's coming to the end of the month. We're getting closer to the end of the year, but also this time next week, I'll be down in Canberra and things will be amping up even more than what they are now for our move back down to Canberra. So that's part of why things are looking just a little different behind me, because yesterday we came back from being down at the coast, so nearly a 3-hour drive south of where we are at the moment. And when my boyfriend was having a bit of a nap, I started taking some of the books and such off the shelving behind me just to feel like I'm going to make a bit of progress with packing things up, so it doesn't feel like a mad rush when the time comes that we need to do the heavy uplift. So with all of that in mind, let's get into the cross stitch, because I'll talk intermittently about other bits of travel and stuff that's been going on throughout this episode. Now, with this episode, I have some haul, a new start, and some progress on some pieces that I haven't worked on for a little while. So let's get into it. A few months ago on social media, I saw that Cottage Garden Threads were announcing a new range that they were going to be dyeing and releasing. What makes it extra special is that it was going to be, and is, a limited edition range because of the dyeing techniques and such they were testing out on this range and using. Before I go any further, I do want to acknowledge that I'm not being sponsored by Cottage Garden Threads in any way, shape or form. I am fangirling in a big way about this collection, because when I saw these ads about the collection they were going to be dyeing and then releasing, I immediately went and then purchased these threads online, because I have used Cottage Garden Threads before. I've seen them in different shops and I know just how amazing their collections are. So, without when I can speak properly. So, without further ado, let's take a look at these particular threads that have come in the pack. So, the first couple that I've got here are Chaos and Riot. I then have Confetti and Graffiti. Then we've got Hot Mess and Neon Nights. Then we have Fireworks and Fabulous. And last but not least, we have Glitter Bomb and Mayhem. I absolutely love all of these threads, and I have so many thoughts about and ideas about what I could use these threads in, and whether I create a new pattern. Rephrase, I am working on creating a new pattern that will incorporate many of these threads. Using all of these threads in one chart though I'm still trying to figure out if that would be practical or feasible. Based on what I'm seeing with these threads though, I definitely am leaning towards certain thoughts or ideas rather of where some of these could be used. For example, Mayhem has me thinking of mirabilias and mermaids and the mermaid's tails that go with that. I then also am thinking of, I guess, with being in the spooky season and such, with fireworks, neon nights, and fabulous, let's get these right, that these have me thinking of whether it be a Quaker or a spooky sampler or anything similar to that. I think these colours could look pretty cool on those. Then I'm also leaning with Glitter Bomb towards a very fiery, passionate kind of chart. It has some really cool colours going on there. Just need a pause for a moment. We'll be back. Okay, so with these particular threads, where I'm contemplating for these, they could be fantastic for a border, or any of these could be fantastic for borders. I'm also thinking about words or something to that effect. I don't know. Where my headspace is leaning towards for any of these, I need to play around, I think, for charts and thoughts and ideas. What I love and what I'm keen on doing is to continue working on creating some charts where it's almost like choose your own adventure scenario of the charts are designed in black, and there's heaps out there already. I'm thinking long dog samplers, for example, or anything similar to them, where the chart, the picture project is charted in just one color, and you can then decide what colors you want to use for that chart, whether it be one of these variegated threads like confetti, or if you're more inclined to mix and match a little bit. For example, Crafty Emily, I know, is working on a long dog sampler where she's got a variety of threads that she's working on, and she's done this fantastic job so far of scrolling through almost or doing a variegated version of blending in the threads, and it's going to look absolutely amazing when it's done. With that in mind, I don't know, I'm going to have to think a lot more about how I want these to work. With all of that said, I do strongly recommend that you go and check out Cottage Garden Threads, because they're going to be able to give you a really good background look into or insight of some of these threads, especially like the speckledy threads like we see with Riot and Confetti, and even some of the other more solid looking variegated threads like Fireworks. Different techniques have been used to get this amazing variegation throughout the threads. So thank you for bearing with me for rambling on and gushing over these threads. Let's get into some of the stitching. Okay, so the first piece that I have to share with you is a piece called Scaredy Cats. It's based on artwork by Jeff Hainey and it's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is roughly what it would look like when it's done. And I started this piece about a year ago, and it's potentially been longer than a year, really. I haven't noted down the starting date, sadly. I had set it aside for a period of time because I was feeling a bit sad about how this background was coming about. That said, I have renewed faith, so to speak, or renewed enthusiasm, and I've been stitching where we see a lot of the darker colours, which is the top of the cat's head, and we may be able to start seeing where the ears might be for this particular cat. And this is roughly how big the piece will be. I'm using all of the called for colours, and I'm stitching this on 25 count linen. I had started stitching this 2/1 and found that the stitching was becoming a bit too bulky for my liking for this fabric. So I've slowly transitioned into 1/1, and I'm using all of the called for colours. The next piece that I have to share with you is a Tilton Crafts piece. By memory, it's Halloween Treats 1. Just finding the cover page. Yes, it is Halloween Treats 1. Okay, so this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. I had initially started stitching this in the top left corner and came to realize that I may not necessarily have enough fabric for the piece, and also came to realize that I really wanted to start in the middle and start stitching where a lot of the fun stuff is. So this is where I'm at so far, noting that the ghost that we see, it was predominantly stitched about a year or two ago, and over the last few days I've focused mostly on the darker stitching that we see, and I've also started filling in a little bit of the ghost's eyes as well. I'm stitching this on 25 count even weave, and this is the top left corner that we see of the pattern, and I'm hoping that as I continue to work on this piece and it expands out, that I am able to somehow frog it or do something creative so I don't have to stitch the edging, because I think that takes a bit of the fun out of it. It also, I think, detracts a little bit from the otherwise amazing colours and really fun parts of the actual chart. So yeah, it'll be all okay, it'll be all good. I'm stitching this 1/1 using all of the called for colours. Now the next piece that I have to share with you, I've not ironed, and to an extent it may work out in my favour when I go back to working on it. I have put a little bit more progress in Autumn Lane Stitchery's Moons Out, Brooms Out, and I have put a bit more work into the witch's dress. So we can now see that the witch has a belt. We can start to see where her shoulder is, and we can also see a bit of where the sleeves are for the dress. This is being stitched on, I believe, to be 18 count navy blue Aida. It is a very stiff Aida, and I trust that as I continue to work on the fabric, it'll become softer. It'll be all right. Now, I have a new start to share with you. This time last week, I started on a new piece called Nevermore. Nevermore is currently in the 2022 special edition of Just Cross Stitch. It's the Halloween collector's issue. So you can see Nevermore is just there on the cover page, and this is what it will look like when it's done. I have done quite a few personalizations with this particular piece because I initially started stitching at 1/1. I'm also stitching this on 25 count Zweigart fabric. It's a Zweigart even weave vintage 25 count called Stormy Night, and this is where I'm up to. I've stitched the border, and that was a learning curve within itself. It has been a long time since I have worked off a chart, with the exception of Apothocary, worked off a chart where I've not marked it off, whether it be a digital pattern or a physical one. And there are, I acknowledge, some alternate ways that I can go about this. For example, photocopying, taking a picture, doing all that wonderful stuff. I thought that I'll go back to my old school roots of how I stitched some of my very, very first few pieces, and some frogging was involved. So with this particular piece, I am stitching it 1/1, and I actually may stitch this again and stitch it 1/2 or maybe 2/2, because I definitely have enough fabric on the Stormy Night fabric to do so. For the border, I used two types of thread. I used this wonderful variegated thread. It is, and I've lost the tag for it. It is, by memory, a Weeks Dye Works a Weeks Dye Works thread called Trick or Treat. I have also started using for the other part of the border, Colour and Cotton's Titanic Disaster. Now, Titanic Disaster came in the first Downton Abbey stitching box that had been assembled by the Black Needle Society. So, to the best of my understanding, Titanic Disaster is not available for sale. However, an equivalent I found, a poor equivalent, stuff equivalents, there are a lot of other threads out there that are quite similar to Titanic Disaster that could do just as well. So other threads that I'm going to use in Nevermore are Colour and Cotton's special edition GB Declares War on Germany, which is again from the Downton Abbey stitching box. And I'm also going to use the Weeks Dye Works Fathom. In the chart, it does call for some lighter coloured threads as well. So I've got floating around some B5200 or white or Blancourt or something similar to those lighter colours to incorporate into that chart. Now, I've just got to get a bit more organised, and I have the last project that I've been working on. I almost forgot. The next piece that I have to share with you is called Apothocary, and it is a design by the Witchy Stitcher, and it is a piece that I started what feels like potentially a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, I still have this in its hoop, and I am partway through frogging and stitching because I've miscounted by a little bit. So this is where I'm up to so far, and I miscounted just a little bit down here. I'm stitching this on 18 count fabric that is dyed by Paddock Lane Designs. It's called Pumpkin, and the thread that I am stitching is a dinky dye thread. It doesn't have a specific name. I'm feeling really vague at the moment, and I can't remember the specific details of this variegated thread. However, I think it is working super well with this fabric, and I just wanted to share with you my progress on Apothocary. I'm looking forward to starting to fill in and working across this way. So fingers crossed next week or in a little bit of time, I'll be able to share with you some more progress on it. The last piece that I have to share with you is one called Inner Works of Life, and it's based on artwork by Stephanie Law, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is roughly what it will look like when it's finished. I started this piece a few years ago when I was trying to do the New Moon, New Star, and I was umming and ahhing between this piece and another one that I can't remember right now. And this particular piece went out, and this is where I'm up to so far. I've started in the centre of the fabric and the centre of the chart. I have focused mostly in this round of stitching on some of the darker colours that we see here. I'm stitching this on 25 count easy grid fabric. It is going to take me a while to finish this, but it's going to be alright. The extra special thing with the Inner Works of Life is that I have a notebook that has the exact same cover or very similar cover to this artwork that I'm stitching at the moment, and I hadn't fully realized that until I had purchased the chart and started working on it. So I think it was, really cool that it's worked out that way. And what I've also found with this particular piece is that I need to have some really good lighting to work on a lot of the lighter colors that are blending in super well for this fabric. So that's where I thought it was going to be easier for me to work on the darker colors. Also noting that I was working on that piece predominantly when I was down at the coast, and the lighting there is, it could be better as far as stitching is concerned. And I used to have a lamp ages ago, but sadly sorry for bumping, sadly the light bulb for it broke, and I've not been able to find a replacement for it. However, the slightly positive component is that there's going to be a lot of physical moving around down at the coast with furniture and similar situations to what my boyfriend and I are doing for moving from Wollongong back down to Canberra. So it meant that some things that are no longer needed at the coast house have been cleared out and been taken away, and it'll be all good. So now that I've started talking a little bit about coast house and such, this is where I'm going to talk a bit more about some life stuff that's going on. So if you're just sticking around for the stitching, thank you so much for sticking around. And again, I really hope that you can go and check out Cottage Garden Threads, especially to do with their chaos collection that they have created. And if you've got any ideas about what sort of projects some of these threads could be used on, I'd love to hear about it. So drop me a comment below. Otherwise, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell so that way you're able to receive notifications for future episodes that I upload. Okay, so with life stuff. This time last week, we were down in Canberra just to drop off some things down there. I got to pick up the Cottage Garden Threads parcel. That it was really cool to see those and open up the packaging. We got back here on Sunday last week. We were here for roughly a day, and then my boyfriend, being the amazing person that he is, because he'd driven us down to Canberra, he then drove us down to Malua Bay. We were there from about Monday or Tuesday, and we came back Friday. So the house at Malua is going to get sold. So there was a bit of washing of windows and cleaning some things up for the house in preparation for the next stage of life for there. And with the house at Malua, it has a lot of stairs and it's quite a hilly place as well, like a hilly location. My legs are feeling knackered from walking around so much, which is a good thing. Also noting that at the start of the week, I had gone to the gym and I'd done a leg workout that I hadn't done for a while. So my legs are talking to me and wondering what's going on. With all of that said, this time next week, I'm not sure how I'm going to go with timing for filming and all the rest, because we're going to be traveling again down to Canberra. It's going to be a long weekend. We'll wait and see how things go timing-wise, but it should all work out okay. I'm just thinking a few thoughts, but the good thing is today is going to be a chill day. It is also the AFL Grand Final, so sadly my team isn't playing in the Grand Final. However, the good thing is that it is a Melbourne team versus a Brisbane team, so the extra comical part in my head is that it's the Geelong Cats versus the Brisbane Lions, so the two pussy cats are going to battle, and we'll wait and see which is the bigger cat that comes out on top. But that said, until next time, happy stitching everyone, and I will hopefully see you in a week's time, if not in a couple of weeks' time. Catch you all later.